Good evening, fellas. Thank you so much for joining me here at the Ritz La Villa Museum. Isn't this an awesome, awesome place?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having
So
us.
I am delighted to talk with you two senior class presidents, Winston Seabrooks, Rebault,
Yes, ma'am.
Jean Rebault,
Yes, ma'am.
Senior High School, and Rodney Wells, Bishop Kenny. Two separate sides of the city,
Yes, ma'am.
two different worlds. So let's start with you, Winston. Tell me about Winston Seabrooks and being the president of the senior class at Revault.
Being senior class president of one of the most famous high schools in Jacksonville, Florida, is a great honor to have. And most definitely being the senior class president of one of the most famous schools is an honor I definitely cherish. So
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
All right, but we're going to come back. So, Bishop Kenny, tell me about Rodney and being the first, if I'm not mistaken, African American senior president of the school.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I think beyond the high school, I'm a fifth generation Jacksonville native, which I'm proud to always tell people. But I'm also a Bishop Kenny student, and this year I had the amazing honor of being their first African American senior class president. But as Vice President Harris said, I may be the first, but I can promise you I will not be the last.
Absolutely.
Very good. So, let's pick up from that, Rodney. Being the first has a lot of accolades, but it can also have some burdens to it. Tell us about your journey to get to where you are, and how has that journey gone this year?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I can tell you, I didn't start at Bishop Kenny, my high school career. I was usually at University Christian High School, and I transferred my junior year looking to harness my academic ambition. And I knew Bishop Kenny had the rigor I wanted in my course load. And so when I got there, my concern was not with the schoolwork, but with the student body and how I would interact with most of my classmates not looking like me. And so I can tell you, my first day at the school, I was taking an advanced placement class, and a teacher stopped me, and she said, "Are you sure you're in the right room?" And I didn't think about it much, and I kind of put it in the back of my head, and I didn't think twice about what she said. But then was the next question she asked. She said, "Let me see your schedule." And that moment, she kind of shifted herself to where she was in front, blocking the door, waiting to look at my schedule and making sure I was in the right class, and then called the guidance office and said, "Are you sure this is the class you're supposed to be in?" And it was a shock. It was someone in that moment questioning my place at a new school. For the first year, it was a transition. I can tell you I've appreciated everything Bishop Kenny has had to offer, including the student body. And so when senior year came along, I wasn't intending to run for but I wasn't planning to run for student government at all. And as you can imagine, the summer has seen unprecedented events, from the death of George Floyd to the pandemic. And at that moment, I saw my classmates with a level of uncertainty we all had. You know, how is my senior year going to be affected? Would I have prom? Would I have that senior experience? But then also, what do I do? Coming from a summer where race has been a major issue on the table. And I just didn't hear any student talking about that's what we need to tackle. It was just running for a resume. And there's nothing wrong with that. But this year needed someone who was going to say, I'm going to be the person to start the conversation. That's what I wanted to do. And when I ran, I had my own friend say, "You're not going to win. It's a race for the popular kids." It was announced that I was senior class president, and we found out I was the first African American senior class president in my school's 68-year history. And so it's now making sure that in this role, not only am I making sure that students look like me are always in the room after I leave the school, but also that in this year we have those hard conversations about race, or that we make sure that this isn't just a sacrifice, but we make the most out of the events that's happened, and how do we move forward. So it's been an amazing experience and extreme honor, for sure.
So that's a perfect segue, Winston. You attend Ribault Senior High School. Talk to us a little bit about what your legacy has been around the neighborhood of Rains, from what I understand, and Ribault, and how those two schools have coexisted over the last 60 years.
Well, I'll tell you this. Being class president, my biggest goal this month with Black History Month is teaching our student body about the history of our school. I attended Ribault High School my 9th grade year, went over to Rains High School my 10th grade year, and both have different cultures. Rains High School was a school built off of African American traditions, and it was a school built for just African Americans because they did not want African Americans attending school with students at the all-white Jean Ribault High School. And this is something that we don't usually hear about our city, particularly. And the thing about it is, Ribault High School, people see it now as a all African American high school in a African American community, but at one point of time, 40, 50 years back, that community and that school was an all-white school. People don't know that Moncrief was not always what it was today. There were certain areas of Moncrief, Upper Moncrief, that were only white communities that, quite frankly, to speak the truth, that if you were an African American, you wouldn't want to have been spotted there after dark. So me and my student council's biggest goal has been telling the history of our school. And I want people to always remember that when the class of 2021 leaves Ribault, we leave the legacy of telling people the story of our school, where it was, where it is, and where it is going to be. Because listening to one of the young women who were the first African Americans to integrate into Ribault High School, she has stories that it would almost make you cry, because the things she had to experience to lay the path for me and my classmates now, it is unbelievable. She told me a story about one time when she was in the cafeteria, the white students threw eggs at her. She told me about when she was walking in the hallways of the school, the white students would go all shift to the other side of the hallway, and she would have one side of the hallway to herself because they did not want to walk next to her. She told me stories about when she was walking through the hallways, they would sing a song, and they would say, it was this Nestle chant. They would say Nestle, Nestle. Nestle makes the very best chocolate. And they would scream it out loud, letting people know that she was coming.
So I want to talk to both of you young men. You all are phenomenal. I mean, you're up for an Image Award here in the next couple of weeks, and you're waiting for Georgetown to get back with you for college acceptance. I want to ask you another question. Where do you see yourself 4 years, 5 years from now, 20 years from now? What do you want to do?
I would say in the next 4 years with the college degree. The next 20, me being 38, back in Jacksonville, and making a difference, whether it looks like, whether it's public policy, whether it's in law, or whether it's doing what we're doing right now and having conversations.
Winston, where do you see yourself?
Next 4 years from now, like Rodney with a college degree, I see myself in someone's team, that and in the team of someone who opened the door for me to come in and to have a voice, and a voice for my community. So in the next 4 years, I definitely see myself at a table making changes for my city.
Thank you guys for coming to talk to me. This was amazing.
Thank you.
You promise to invite me to the table with you in 20 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.